Bhadram karne vishrunuyama devaha Bhadram pashye makshabhirya chatraha Sthirairangai sastanubihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, O gods, may we hear with our ears what is auspicious. O ye adorable ones, may we see with our ears what is auspicious. May we see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we sing praises to ye and enjoy with strong limbs and body the life allotted to us by the gods. Om, peace, peace, peace. If you imagine someone who is brave enough to withdraw all his projections, then you get an individual who is conscious of the pretty thick shadow. If you imagine someone who is brave enough to withdraw all his projections, then you get an individual who is conscious of a pretty thick shadow. Such a man has saddled himself with new problems and conflicts. Such a man has saddled himself with new problems and conflicts. He has become a serious problem to himself, as he is now unable to say that they do this or that. They are wrong, and they must be fought against. He lives in the house of the gathering. Such a man knows that whatever is wrong in the world is in himself. And if he only learns to deal with his own shadow, he has done something real for the world. He has succeeded in shouldering at least an infinitesimal part of the gigantic, unsolved social problems of our day. Such a man knows that whatever is wrong in the world is in himself. And if he only learns to deal with his own shadow, he has done something real for the world. He has succeeded in shouldering at least an infinitesimal part of the gigantic, unsolved social problems of the day. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to Ramakrishna Monastery. And the topic today is the shadow self. Why shadow? Is our self, our real self, a shadow? Do we have a shadow? We all have a dark side that we usually don't want to accept, especially those who want to lead a spiritual life. Find it difficult to confront this dark shadow. I love the faces. It's like, what are you talking? Well, it is true. We find it difficult because the moment we embrace a spiritual life, we want to show goodness to others. We want to show virtue. And we deny anything that is dark about us. Not that we hide it, we manage to hide it. But any time, it can be brought up to the surface and can make us feel very, very uncomfortable. So we all indeed have a shadow. In a spiritual life, it is essential that we understand what the goal is. And in this particular case, it is essential that we understand that we must integrate this dark shadow with ourselves. The goal is a process of integration and expansion. Integration and expansion. Therefore, it is essential that we embrace our dark side, that we own it, we accept it. What do you think? Do we have a dark side? Is it bad? Well, sometimes we think it's bad, because we are spiritual, right? We want to be a spiritual. And therefore, we don't want to show that side of ourselves. That's absolutely natural. However, if we really want to expand, we have to integrate that side of ours as well. It's only in acceptance that we are aware of it. When we accept it, we can deal with it. We can confront it. We can shake hands with it. We develop the strength to understand what we are capable of. Swami Dhyanayogananda says, first, you must develop the power to restrain. He asked one of his brother disciples, can you tell a lie? And the reply was, no. Then you must learn first how to tell a lie. You must develop the strength and be able to restrain. You must be able to have the power to do something wrong and then restrain yourself from doing it. That's us. If we want to embrace this spiritual life, we have to be brave and accept the darkest sides of ourselves, knowing that we can, but we choose not to. It's important we know what we carry with us, what we carry within us. But what is the truth? The truth is that Atman, who we truly are, the self, capital Self, is present all the time. Who we truly are is present all the time as a witness. We can say that Atman is just like light. Light is present, witnessing, without judging. Light is present, witnessing a doctor saving somebody's life, or a murderer committing crime. It's the same light. Yet, we choose to identify ourselves with one or the other. And there goes the story of our lives. So I know it's not easy. It's not easy to do this, to practice this. But as I always say, there is no way out. We can't compromise the truth. We cannot compromise the means by running away from them. Sri Ramakrishna says, if you are pricked with a thorn, get another thorn, get rid of it, and throw them both away. The light itself doesn't do anything. The light just illumines, is present. That who we are, that light within us, that power, that energy, that prana, that self, doesn't have neither goodness nor badness, if I can put it that way. The knower of the self, identifies with the Atman. Who is the knower of the self? We all want to be knowers of the self. We all want to be wise men and women. The one who has mastered himself, herself, is the knower of the self. He identifies only with the Atman, only with that light. That's the reason why he or she is the master of her own body and mind. Now, I love this topic. I think I said that to Ananta yesterday. She said, well, Swami, you always say that. You love all these topics that, that you want to present to others and work with. Well, it's true, but particularly, we have to admit that without understanding ourselves, how we work, who we are, and how we deal with this world, we cannot do much, individually and collectively. And when it comes to that, we need to admit and accept that just that in the phenomena, everything is made out of two pairs of opposites, so within us. The same thing goes within us. Now, I don't mean to say that you should accept your shadow and act upon it. Just to see it, to embrace it, to know that that is not you, who you truly are, is a great step forward. What do we do then? We have to do what we have to do. Work, spiritual practice. There is only one way to stay focused, to stay alert. And it is only through commitment. What is the shadow? With regards to the shadow, Carl Jung stated, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of our personality as present and as real. The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. particularly our spiritual ego. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort. Is it dharmic? Is it adharmic? Is it on me to sail these waters? Is it on me to say no and guide my life towards who I want to become, towards what I want to express in my life? To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of our personality as present and real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. The shadow is dark and elusive. It is impossible to catch. Its size can alter depending on your position in space, and it is ubiquitous whenever light is present. Our dark side is concealed and camouflaged in a painful attempt to protect an image that fits the narrative we decide to espouse. Through social conditioning, we come to construct a facade that can keep the substrate of our constructed identity stable so that we can keep feeling safe. Safety, however, is ill-defined in that space we inhabit. How can one feel safe when there is so much unknown territory out there that can, at any given point in time, convulse the foundations of our fragile constitution? A person is as free as their mind allows, and if the mind creates barriers between the reality of the person and the reality of the rest of the world, delusion and neurosis can take over. And we have to be real people, authentic, genuine. We have to be ourselves, not a mask, not a persona, even though we carry on with the persona. But we should be as much transparent as possible. That's the way to live. Free. Because we have enough with the world, don't you think? Psychology is the science of sciences, says Swami Dhyanayogananda. The task before us is vast, and first and foremost, we must seek to control the vast mass of sunken thoughts which have become automatic in us. The evil deed is, no doubt, on the conscious plane, but the cause which produced the evil deed was far beyond the realms of the unconscious, unseen, and therefore more potent. The evil deed is, no doubt, on the conscious plane, but the cause which produced the evil deed was far beyond in the realms of the unconscious, the unseen, and therefore more potent. Please have a seat. There's a space here if you want to sit. That the functions which are beneath consciousness, the functions which are beneath consciousness are also performed by us. Only we are doing it unconsciously. We have then two planes in which the human mind works. First is the conscious plane, in which all work is always accompanied by the feeling of egoism. The conscious plane equals I am here. The feeling of egoism. Next comes the unconscious plane, where all work is accompanied by the feeling, where all the work is unaccompanied by the feeling of egoism. So we have the conscious plane accompanied by ego. The unconscious is not. It is there though. That part of the mind work which is unaccompanied with the feeling of egoism is unconscious work. And that part which is unaccompanied with the feeling of egoism, and that part which is accompanied with the feeling of egoism is conscious work. Is it clear?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. That part of mind work which is unaccompanied with the feeling of egoism is unconscious work. And that part which is accompanied with the feeling of egoism is conscious work. In the lower animals, this unconscious work is called instinct. And guess what? It's also in us. And most probably is the responsible, the culprit for our shadow that we don't want to see. But it's there. We can't deny it. We have a little animal within us. Even though we have a beautiful intellect, the instinct is still there. And you know better. In higher animals, in the highest of all animals, man, what is called conscious work prevail. But there is still a higher plane upon which the mind can work. It can go beyond consciousness. Just as unconscious work is beneath consciousness, so there is another work which is above consciousness. You see it? We are here, lower, the unconscious, and beyond consciousness is what we call superconsciousness. Just as unconscious work is beneath consciousness, so there is another work which is above consciousness, and which also is not accompanied by the feeling of egoism. That's why when you touch this state of mind, you don't remember anything. You don't know who you were when you are in deep sleep. All you remember is, oh, I rested so well. I was so happy there. The feeling of egoism is only on the middle plane. When the mind is above or below that line, there is no feeling of I. And yet, the mind works. When the mind goes beyond this line of self-consciousness, lower self, it's called samadhi. The state of superconsciousness. Practical psychology directs first of all its energies in controlling the unconscious. And we know that we can do it. Why? Because we know the cause of the unconscious. We know the cause of the unconscious is what? Conscious. Practical psychology directs first of all its energies in controlling the unconscious. And we know that we can do it. Why? Because we know the cause of the unconscious is the conscious. The unconscious thoughts are the submerged millions of our old conscious thoughts. Old conscious actions became petrified. We do not look at them, do not know them, we have forgotten them. They were conscious. Are you following? This is important. But if the power of evil is in the unconscious, so also is the power of good. We have many things stored in us as in a pocket. We have forgotten them. We do not even think of them. And there are many of them rotting, becoming positively dangerous. They come forth, the unconscious causes which kill humanity. True psychology would, therefore, try to bring them under the control of the conscious. The great task is to revive the whole man, as it were, in order to make him the complete master of himself, beyond gender. True psychology, therefore, tries to bring them under the control of the conscious. The great task is to revive the whole man, as it were, in order to make him the complete master of himself. This is our task in this world. Religion is nothing but a means. Ideas, symbols are nothing but means that helps us connect with the ideal. Because we are human beings. We are not animals. We are creators. Psychology is the science of sciences, says Swami Dhyanayogananda. Why? We are all slaves of our senses. Slaves of our own minds, conscious and unconscious. The reason why a criminal is a criminal is not because he desires to be one, but because he has not his mind under control and is therefore a slave to his own conscious and unconscious mind and to the mind of everybody else. He must follow the dominant trend of his own mind. Unfortunately, he cannot help it. He is forced onward in spite of himself, in spite of his own better promptings, his own better nature. He is forced to obey the dominant mandate of his own mind. Poor man indeed. Yet again and again we do it. We suffer. We think we desire to do it, but we only desire it because we are forced to desire it. We are forced onward. We are helpless. Isn't that part of our nature? Human nature. Human nature. Yes. We are slaves of our senses. You should know that. And we don't want to be slaves. Who wants to be slaves? We want to be masters. We want to be free. We are all slaves to our own and everybody else's mind. Whether we are good or bad, that makes no difference. We are led here and there because we cannot help ourselves. We are slaves to ourselves. We are slaves to others. Deep down in our subconscious mind are stored up all the thoughts and acts of the past, not only of this life, but of all other lives we have lived. This great, boundless ocean of subjective mind is full of all the thoughts and actions of the past. Each one of these is striving to be recognized. Here, they go. They raise their hands, pushing outward for expression, surging, wave after wave, out upon the objective mind, the conscious mind. These thoughts, the stored up energy we take for natural desires, talents, etc. It is because we do not realize their true origin, their cause. If it is unconscious, it was conscious before. So make peace with it. There is nothing wrong. It's there. We obey them blindly, and slavery, the most helpless kind of slavery, is the result. And we call ourselves free. Don't we? To some degree. Arjuna asked Krishna, chapter number 3 in the Bhagavad Gita, Atakena prayukto yam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya baladivani yojitaha. Arjuna said, but impelled by what does man commit sin, though against his wishes? Constrained, as it were, by force. Impelled by what? Kama esha, krodha esha. It is desire, Krishna says. It is anger. Born of Rajaguna. You all know what Rajaguna is. One of the powers of nature. It keeps us active. It is desire and anger of great craving and of great sin. Sin is translated here in English, is papam. Papam is not good. It won't help you towards your spiritual realization, towards your spiritual goal. Not the sin that we know. But in a way it is, because it's not helping us. It's not a good friend. Know this as the foe here, the world. So the basis, the foundation of our dark side, what do you think it is? It's present here in the unconscious mind. From this life, from past lives, we don't know. All we know is that it's here and now. And we just can't run away from it. All these projections, all these denials that we are so accustomed to practice in our daily life. We see something that confronts that shadow, immediately we feel a little uncomfortable. And we change subjects. What? Did you say something? Or we project stuff that we don't like about ourselves. We see it in others. He who cannot for a moment govern his own mind We who cannot for a moment govern our own minds, let us include everybody, nay, cannot hold our minds on a subject, focus it on a point to the exclusion of everything else for a moment. We cannot do as we know we ought to do, even for a very short space of time. Some sense of desire will crop up, and immediately we obey. The ghost of past thoughts, past lives, hold us down. All the misery of the world is caused by this slavery to the senses. Our inability to rise above the sense life, the striving for physical pleasures, is the cause of all the horrors and miseries in the world. It is the science of psychology that teaches us to hold in check the wild gyrations of the mind, place it under control of the will, and thus free ourselves from its tyrannous mandates. So who is our friend here? Our willpower. We decide, not our instincts. We own ourselves. That is the only way to be in control. Who wants to be controlled by anybody? To own ourselves, to love ourselves. The mind uncontrolled and unguided will drag us down forever. Rend us, kill us, and the mind controlled and guided will save us, will free us. Deep within ourselves is who we truly are. Our essential nature. We call it the Atman, the capital self. Turn the mind inwards, says Vivekananda, and become united with that. Turn the mind inwards means what? Make it a habit. That's the main spiritual practice. Make it a habit to go within, to have a relationship with yourself, with your inner self. Not the one who identify yourself with, the light that knows neither goodness nor badness. The light that makes you conscious of your existence. The light that makes you aware of your presence here. And it's here all the time. Doesn't go anywhere. Don't you feel it? When you go through troubles and tribulations, identify with a depressed mind, know yourself to be here and now. No problems. You're always that pure being. Unaffected light. ever pure. It doesn't die when the body dies. What happens to us, we follow our thoughts. Like a stream carries us. Don't follow them. Observe them. Observe nature working. It's inevitable. Just know you are behind. And we have to make that awareness a practice, a habit. I'm going to share the trick that I use, and I think we should all use, because it's not private. Whenever you are sad or in trouble, whenever you feel low, whenever you feel excited for something, elated, whenever you experience these two pair of opposites in a neurotic way, ask yourselves, what am I? Simple. And calm down. You haven't gone anywhere. That God we love, it's already with us. So calm down. That's why all these yogic practices, all these sadhanas aim towards calmness. Aims to help you stay tranquil, calm, so that you can discern. Don't run away from your shadow. It's part of nature. No, it's there. Acknowledge it. Oh, wow. If you want to be surprised. See the positive side. If it gets really scary, wow, you are powerful. You could be very bold and brave, even to commit the hideous sin. Everything that is out there is already in our minds. The most hideous crimes that happen in this world. They happen because they are within us already. Who wants to confront these horrible crimes that happened and keep happening? We usually read the news and we go like, oh, whoa, whoa, again, and flip the paper. Okay, what was going on? We don't want to see it. But it hurts. Following the selfish shadow won't take us anywhere. Going beyond the shadow, going beyond our sense of ego, that goodness as well. Oh, it's for me and for those who I love. That's the way. expanding and embracing everyone as your own. But don't be afraid. It's there. It's part of nature. It is individual. It is collective. If it comes to your mind, it's because it's there already. So there is a very vast topic from the psychology point of view. It's a beautiful topic. I really enjoyed researching and communing with it, because I believe it's so true. And these wonderful minds like Freud, Jung, and so many others, that stop for a moment to think about these things. It's just a wonderful contribution. So there is a part of this shadow that deals with the integration, to integrate this in your lives. And you can start integrating it, not by acting it out, but acknowledging that it's there. That yes, I am so selfish, and that's okay. Because nature is selfish. Nature is selfish. But the one behind, illumining everything, it's not. It's the same light that illumines your mind, my mind, and everybody else's here. So, do you mean that we should disown ourselves? Not really. It's just there is no way out. There is unity in everything. We cannot fight it. The only way is to acknowledge it. Even though we don't see it, we have to trust. I keep saying this. We have to trust the seers of the truth. It's there. And when it comes to that, you should act on it. Even though I don't feel it, even though I don't see it, let me practice this. Let me try to be more unselfish, more empathetic towards my fellow being. Let me try to change my language. Let me try to express a little bit of love and see what happens. Any questions? Yes.
Swami, so you're starting to talk with choices, and I think you might have answered with free will and karma. But I just finished a book by this Father Boyle, who is the priest in East LA, who works with gang members. And he's pretty famous. He's done a lot of great work. He started this thing called Homeboy Industries, where gang members produce shirts and they have a little bakery. So he's done a lot of great work. But my question is, and I used to work in Monterey Park, which was the city next to East LA. And I know how dangerous that city, East LA, is. Some people call it the gang capital of the world, of the United States. So my question is, so these kids that grow up in this situation, most, in East LA, most have no fathers. If they do, many of them have fathers in prison.
Mm.
And the rest of them probably shouldn't have a father at home.
Mm-hmm.
And they grow up in really, really tough situations. So they don't have the guidance or support that the kids in our community, Monterey Park, next door. And the kids in Monterey Park, most of them because I work in Boys and Girls Club, most of them turn out really good.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the kids in East LA got into gangs and committed violent crimes. And then this Father Boyle found ways to rehabilitate them in different manners. But most of these kids many of these kids committed crimes, many violent. So my question is, did these kids growing up really have a choice?
Absolutely.
So even though they were subjected to all these negative things, did they really have a choice?
Oh, yes. It's just that they didn't know any better, Danny. Unfortunately. They didn't have any choice because they just followed the herd. They didn't stop to follow his good samskaras, because goodness is also within us. So our job here is education, spiritual education. To educate others, to give them the confidence that we have the power. To transform our lives. And I think that that kind of work, that active work, to just feel for others and do something, it's an amazing spiritual work. And it couldn't be more spiritual. Maybe in the back of your mind you feel proud about it, or you might feel proud about it. But that's a grade, in Sanskrit it's called punyam. To help others spiritually is the greatest service. To help others being free and experiencing freedom. It is a wonderful thing. But we have to be strong. We have to first work and understand ourselves. That's why commitment to spiritual life is essential. But we can do it. A 6th grade year old can help another one that is in a lower grade. But know that there is a lot of work to do. Knowing that there is still a lot of work ahead. But there is a lot I could talk about. I think I'm going to have to continue talking about this shadow thing, because there are so many aspects of this that are so important. We just want to be free. We just want to experience peace. In this world. It's just that it's so hard. It looks like this is the survival of the fittest. It is indeed. But where there is a will, there is a way. As we say here. And we have the will. We have that power to transform our lives Spiritual life is nothing but the transformation of our personality. Why? Because we're already spiritual beings. Please accept that. We are already divine beings walking on earth. So the whole work is all about the transformation of our personality, of our character, expressing the divine. Accepting the imperfections in the perfection. Where there is good, there is bad. It's inevitable. But still, there is a way to figure this out. There is a way to go beyond this. And at least not be affected by it. And when you are not affected, you can express. You can express love and compassion. And you can help others. So yes, the answer, if you ask me, I would say, did they have a choice? We all have a choice. Unfortunately, in this world, we just, more and more, we like a spiritual education. Religion gives that to us. It's just that more and more, at least it happened to me, I don't know, many years ago, probably, I'm just projecting. It's just that we just need answers. We just need, reasonable solutions to this. And the only solution that I found is, it's on us. There is a lot of work to do. But if we are all here, we are on the right path, I believe. Regardless of your religion or your spiritual beliefs, it doesn't matter. I believe that if we talk about a God, there is only one God, called by different names. It is his teaching. I was so attracted to that when I first discovered Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. There is so much clarity that really helped me understand. But we have to have interest. We have to develop interest in being okay with ourselves and being okay about being better and transcend ourselves. There are lots of aspects of our life that sometimes we deal with them daily. Well, I don't feel like meditating today, I'm so tired. Or I ate so much last night I couldn't get up. But the moment you set a habit, you allow that door to stay kind of loose, not fully locked. So we need discipline. We need discipline in our lives. Because we live in human bodies. We live in this nature. And the human bodies drags us down. That is the law.
You have a question?
Yeah.
Sorry if I just didn't understand when you were talking about it before. But when you were talking about the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious, was the point to be in the superconscious? There's no sense of ego either. Is the point to be there, or is the point to be at the conscious plane and you can't really go to the other two?
Well, it's there all the time. That superconscious state is there all the time. To bring it to consciousness and experiencing it the moment that happens, there is no ego. Even in this body, there is no more ego. That's what is called in our scripture the Jivan Mukta. Liberated in this life, but still in the body. And acting like anybody else. With the physical needs and need for food and shelter. But he is aware. He is aware. If you ask me, there will always be some degree of ego that keeps their minds down. And that degree of ego is for the sake of others. To help others. That's why we have teachers that, even though they experience that, he used to say, bring me a glass of water. Just to bring his mind down again. So they keep a little bit of their ego, and I talked about this in other talks. It's called Sattvic Maya. See, the Sattvic Maya is to feel for others. To feel for others. To do something for others. They cannot completely stay at peace if they see somebody suffering. These are great teachers. But yes. So integration is the thing. The integration of our personality. We are already divine beings, you know. Nobody can take that away from us. It's our essence. Anybody else? Yeah.
You were talking about the shadow impulses and observing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering a couple things. Is observation enough to extinguish those? And I also heard you say something about resisting. And is that kind of contradictory to accepting them?
Yes and no. Observation and acknowledging this dark side of all of us is a must. Restrain not from the sense to act upon it. You restrain because you have the will not to. You have the power. You know you can turn into most hideous criminal if you only allow yourself to open up to that. Danny was just saying, is there any hope for those kids if they have a choice? Well, if you tune your mind with those unhealthy thoughts, you will end up acting them out.
So in this case, not acting on them is different to rejecting them?
You don't reject them. You know you have the power not to. And that's enough. Then you act upon your will. You make a decision. No, this is not good. Not that it's, again, not good, what is truly and completely good in this world. But it won't definitely help you towards your expansion and spiritual growth.
Thanks.
Of course. See, when there is that power, when that power is with you, then there is virtue. There is morality. I choose not to, thank you. You tune with your own essence, your own nature. As I said before, what we have to act upon, what we have to practice is the reality. Even though it's hard to see it, we see everything different. We see objects and names and different bodies. I know it's when I say don't see that, you gotta go like, whoa. But see the reality behind. If they are in front of you, it's because they exist. If they exist, it's because there is consciousness. If there is consciousness, it's the same as you. That's why saints say, see God in each other. If I say that, I will put an end to it. So this is the same kind of, speech that we keep saying. But think about it, reason it out. That's the practice. We good? Well, I want to stress this a lot. It's on us. It's not an excuse to say, well, there is a gigantic will behind everything. You know you have the power to make decisions that will help you expand in your life. You know you have the power to calm down, and instead of seeing darkness in others, see it in yourself first. Accept it. Yeah, it's there, I'm not perfect. But that's okay, because nobody, when it comes to phenomena, nobody truly is. We are a mix. We choose to manifest certain aspects. But it's on us. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, that outer world is Purna, full of divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purna, full of divine consciousness. From Purna comes Purna. From the fullness of divine consciousness, the world is manifested. Taking Purna from Purna, Purna indeed remains, because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. Peace. Thank you.